Hello, I'm Darcy Lambton and welcome back to Global Coverage as we continue our focus on gangs and gun violence from around the world. And the homicide rates in South Africa are amongst the highest in the world. Crime in the bigger cities is so bad that many wealthier people have moved out, preferring to live in heavily guarded, gated communities. Such crime levels are also a major worry for a country preparing to host soccer's 2010 World Cup. Well, for more analysis, we spoke to Reuters chief correspondent in Southern Africa, Andrew Quinn, and I started by asking him just how bad crime is in South Africa.
Well, certainly by Western standards, South Africa has very high rates of violent crime. Murder and rape are common here. And one thing that, unlike many other countries, many crimes do spiral into violence very quickly, and this is blamed on easy accessibility of guns. There are many guns in the country that come over the borders, and lots of gun violence here.
And Andrew, why is it so chronic?
Well, the government argues that crime has always been high in South Africa, but before the end of apartheid in 1994, it was limited mostly to black communities. And this is because under the apartheid government, the policing structure in this country was largely meant to keep the white population safe. With the end of apartheid now, crime, like many other things, is spreading across racial lines. And this gets attention in the press when richer people, and one has to say white people, fall victims to crime. The government would say that crime has always been high in townships, and they're now doing their best to police the country as a whole. Another reason for the high rates of crime here is obviously the very large gap in incomes here. South Africa has one of the largest gaps between rich and poor in the world, and you have extremely rich people living in quite close proximity to very poor communities, so that this obviously makes for a recipe for crime.
There's going to be a lot of media attention on South Africa, and that's going to grow leading up to the World Cup in 2010. It's a major showpiece event for South Africa and indeed for the continent, the first ever World Cup to be held in Africa. Are there worries, big concerns among people that violence on this scale might overshadow the event?
Certainly crime and security are going to be major concerns going into 2010. The government has vowed that it will make sure that it is an extremely safe World Cup. The president has promised to beef up the police force. The government is also doing things like installing security cameras in places like downtown Johannesburg, and certainly around the stadium where the games would be played. I'm sure that they would leave no stone unturned to ensure that people coming to the World Cup would not have direct experience of South Africa's crime rates. But it is a huge problem, and I think that they've got their work cut out for them, certainly not only in the stadium areas, but if people go out into parts of the country as tourists and so on, they're going to have to be aware of high crime rates, that's for sure.
Andrew, thanks very much indeed.